The first Me-163 Komet prototypes were tested in 1941 at Peenemünde. In October of that year, German pilot Heini Dittmar nearly broke the sound barrier, flying his Komet up to 623 miles per hour.
They knew after testing by 42 that they would have a very fast interceptor which would reach altitudes of 15,000 feet per minute. In 2 minutes it was at operational altitude.
But there was a catch. The fuel burned up in only 8 minutes. And once expended, the rocket plane turned back into a glider. A sitting duck for enemy fighters. The definitive version of the Komet, the Me-163B, was combat ready by mid-1944. The aircraft was tiny in comparison to other fighters in the air, basically consisting of wings and an engine. It was merely 18 feet in length, roughly half that of a P-51. Both routes housed extremely heavy armament, 30mm Rhein-Borsig Mark 108 cannons. A few well-placed shells could knock out a heavy bomber. On March 16, 1945, pilot Rolf Glogner will take to the skies in this incredible machine. While attacking a formation of B-17s, he'll find out his Me-163 isn't just fast, it can dogfight as well. In a thrilling head-to-head matchup with a British Mosquito, Glogner will pit his Komet in a struggle of life and death. Glogner straps into the cockpit of an Me-163 Komet.
Ich hatte Einsatzbereitschaft.
I was on call, and then on sitting call, where you were inside the cockpit in case things had to happen quickly.
The fuel on board is so unstable that Glogner must wear a protective suit.
Wir hatten für scharfe Starts hatten wir die Asbestkombination.
We wore asbestos suits and long gloves in case the fuel spilled in an accident. We were completely covered. If the fuel came into contact with your skin, it burned. And normal cloth would have burned immediately. It was dangerous.
The corrosive fuel is but one of the many dangers facing the Komet pilot.
If he didn't blow up, if he didn't get shot down, and if he didn't die and explode on impact landing, then he had to look forward to doing it all over again.
Suddenly, the German flak gunners cease fire. The alarm is sounded. Allied bombers are passing overhead. It's up to the Komets to try to stop them. Glogner lifts off, ejects his landing dolly, accelerates to over 400 miles per hour. Then pulls into a steep 70-degree climb.
From start, yeah?
From takeoff, it took 2 minutes to reach combat altitude, 30,000 feet. A standard fighter like the Me-109 would have taken 30 minutes to do that, and the enemy plane would have been long gone by that time.
Above the bomber stream, the navigator of a twin-engine RAF Mosquito spots a telltale vapor trail heading his way. Allied pilots have come to dread such a sight. Glogner flies up through the B-17 stream without scoring any hits on the bombers. His focus quickly narrows to the Mosquito passing overhead. This day, Glogner will see how his Me-163 stacks up in a dogfight. The Mosquito's lightweight wooden frame was powered by twin Rolls-Royce Merlin engines. The aircraft was known for its speed and its hard-hitting combination of 20-millimeter cannon and 30-caliber machine guns. The Me-163 is far faster than the Mosquito and surprisingly maneuverable in a turning fight. But the Mosquito has much better armament and can absorb more punishment. Glogner is here. The Mosquito is here. The Mosquito pilot will turn into Glogner, hoping to get a shot while the Comet is still in the climb. The Mosquito brakes hard. Glogner eases the stick forward.
When I was underneath him, he dropped his wing tanks, and he almost hit me. But they passed right by the tips of my wings. That would have been terrible. I got lucky.
Glogner banks left to get onto his enemy's 6 o'clock.
So as he banks and rolls himself, he sees the Mosquito pilot trying to turn tight to get him.
The engagement has turned into a classic circling fight. Both pilots turn as tight as their planes allow.
But I had the Me-163, and it was so agile. So that's how I was able to shoot him. I shot the right engine, and then it went down and disappeared. I didn't follow him because, to me, he was finished.
Just then, Glogner's fuel runs dry. He won't get the chance to attack any bombers. And with more Allied fighters in the air, survival becomes top priority. Glogner glides back to base.
All Luftwaffe pilots began their training in gliders. And therefore, when a 163 pilot took off and had burned that 7 or 8 minutes of rocket fuel getting to altitude, every takeoff meant it was going to be an unpowered landing. And therefore, the early glider training that each pilot had was a definite benefit.
Glogner safely belly lands the Comet, having scored a rare fighter kill for the rocket interceptor. The Comet went on to shoot down a total of 16 aircraft. Its main achievement was instilling a sense of fear of German technology in the minds of Allied pilots.
They just did not know what else was out there. If they had the 262 jet, now they have this thing here, what else do we have to look forward to? What other nightmares are waiting for us?
But despite all this, the Me-163 program proved a military failure.
The problem was, it was not really a viable weapon because so few were ever available at any time. They were complex and dangerous to operate.
The Me-163 program has a unique distinction of having killed more pilots in training than they did in combat.
Even Siegfried Schubert, the most successful Comet pilot, was not immune from the risk of flying the Me-163.
Schubert continued flying Comet missions until October, about 2 months after his record-setting 2 Victory Day. But that month, he was getting ready to launch in another Comet when apparently the fuel exploded and he was killed in the detonation.
Regardless of the danger, there was never a shortage of volunteers ready to take the rocket planes into battle. They were willing to sacrifice their lives, if necessary, to protect their home country. Sentiment echoed halfway across the world.